You did what? Vivian's perfectly sculpted eyebrows knitted together in concern. She was leaning against the cold metal of my new desk in the shared grad student office, her designer handbag perched on the corner like a gargoyle. Behind her, through the window, the campus lights were just starting to blur in the evening rain. I just told her I reached out to my ex, Ben, and suggested we could try being friends. Vivian said I was crazy. She said it was too soon, that he didn't deserve a single word from me. But her eyes, for a split second, held a flicker of something else. Not concern, not pity. Something calculating. The surface. It all started with a simple question I asked her over lukewarm coffee 3 years ago. I'd just been accepted into the history PEEF.D program, same as her. We were celebrating. I told her I wanted to specialize in 19th century maritime trade routes. I asked her what she was studying. She'd smiled, a bright, practiced thing, and said she wanted to study the social impact of historical revisionism. How the stories we tell ourselves about the past shape our present. She said it sounded complicated, but it just meant she was interested in how people lie. Back then, I thought she was brilliant, sharp. We became inseparable. The kind of best friends who finish each other's sentences and have a key to each other's apartments. She was the one who encouraged me to apply for the prestigious research grant that sent me to Lisbon for 3 months. She proofread my application, helped me pack. She hugged me tight at the airport and promised to keep an eye on Ben for me. She said it with that same brilliant smile. I've got your back, she'd said, always. Of course, I got the grant. I was good at what I did. I was focused, driven. I poured everything into my research, spending 14-hour days in dusty archives, deciphering faded shipping manifests. Ben and I video called every night for the first month. Then the calls became texts. Then the texts became sporadic. Then silence. Utter, complete radio silence. He just vanished. When I got back to the States, my key no longer worked in the apartment we shared. His name was off the lease. His things were gone. The only thing left of him was a gaping hole in the middle of my life. Vivian was there, of course. She held me while I fell apart. She brought me takeout and bad wine and let me rage about him, about how a man could share 5 years of his life with you and then evaporate without a single word of explanation. She nodded in all the right places. She said all the right things. She told me I was better off without him. She was my rock, and I told her everything. Every shard of my broken heart, every confused, angry thought. I trusted her completely. 2 months after I got back, I started feeling off. The exhaustion I blamed on heartbreak was different, deeper. I took a test in the bathroom of a campus library, the kind with flickering fluorescent lights that make everyone look like a ghost. 2 pink lines. I was pregnant. Vivian was the first person I told. We sat in my tiny, now empty apartment. The space he used to fill felt enormous and hostile. I showed her the test. She gasped, her hand flying to her mouth in a perfect gesture of shock. She told me it was a disaster, a complication I didn't need. She said Ben would use it to trap me, to control me. She advised me to think about my options, my career. She said it wasn't about Ben, it was about me. She was just looking out for me. That's what she said. The cracks. The stress was a physical thing, a knot in my stomach that never unwound. The ghosting, the sudden single parenthood, the PEEF.D deadlines looming. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. A week later, I woke up to a searing pain and a horrifying amount of blood. The ER doctor had kind, tired eyes. He used gentle words, spontaneous abortion. He said it was common. He said it wasn't my fault. But it felt like it was. It felt like another piece of my life had been ripped away because I couldn't hold it all together. I called Vivian from the hospital bed. She didn't pick up. I left a choked, broken voicemail. She texted back hours later. OMG, so sorry, was in the archives, phone on silent. Let's get drinks tomorrow to take your mind off it, not a call. A text. I stared at the screen, at the sterile white sheets, at the empty space beside me in the bed. Something felt wrong, deeply, fundamentally wrong. I started noticing small things. The way she'd angle her phone away from me when she was texting. The way she'd go quiet if I walked into her room while she was on a call. One night, we were studying late in the library. I went to get coffee, and when I came back, she'd left her laptop open. Her email was on the screen. The most recent sent message was to a name I didn't recognize. But the subject line made my blood run cold. Lisbon update. I didn't read it. I couldn't. I just stood there, my heart hammering against my ribs. I made a noise, and she slammed the laptop shut, her face a mask of casual innocence. She asked what was wrong. I said nothing. Just tired. That night, I didn't sleep. I thought about the grant she helped me with, the silence from Ben, the pregnancy advice. The text instead of a call. It was a constellation of tiny betrayals, and I was finally starting to see the shape it made. She hadn't just been my confidante. She'd been his informant. My grief curdled. It turned into something hard and sharp. rage. But I knew I couldn't confront her. Not yet. I had no proof, just a gut feeling and a subject line. She would deny everything. She would twist it, make me out to be the paranoid, grieving wreck, and people would believe her. She was so good at being believed. So I made a choice. I would become someone else. I packed away the driven, serious grad student. I became bubbly, a little scattered. I started talking about dating apps, about needing a fresh start. I played the part of a woman moving on, maybe a little too quickly, a little too foolishly. I made myself seem weak, harmless. Someone you could underestimate, someone you could pity. And Vivian, she bought every second of it. Her shoulders relaxed around me, her guard came down. The more I leaned into this new persona, the more she started to slip up. She'd mentioned things about Ben she shouldn't know. Little things. That he'd taken up rock climbing, that he'd gotten a new job in a different city. When I'd ask how she knew, she'd wave a hand dismissively. Oh, I must have heard it from someone. But her eyes would shift. Just for a moment. I started a journal, a small, black, leather-bound book I kept hidden in a hollowed-out history textbook on my shelf. Title, The Peloponnesian War. No one would ever open that voluntarily. Inside, I documented everything. Dates, times, quotes. Every slip-up, every lie, every piece of information she fed me that could only have come from him. My handwriting, usually a frantic scrawl, became a meticulous, precise script. Operation Double Agent Bestie was underway. The truth. The twist came not from Vivian, but from a mutual friend, Isaac. He was in the computer science department, a quiet, observant guy who mostly kept to himself. He'd been friends with Ben too before the split. One afternoon, he found me in the campus coffee shop, staring into space. He sat down without asking. He looked uncomfortable. He told me he needed to show me something. He pulled out his phone and opened a group chat I wasn't in. A chat for a fantasy football league from last year. He scrolled back, way back, to a date when I was in Lisbon. There it was, a post from Ben, a picture. It was him and Vivian, smiling, heads close together at a bar. The caption read, celebrating her win. Isaac explained. He said Vivian had also applied for the Lisbon grant. The same one I got. She hadn't told anyone. She hadn't gotten it. Ben's post was from the day the acceptance letters went out. He was comforting her. The Lisbon update email wasn't about me. It was about her research, which she'd continued from home, using Ben as a go-between to get information about archives and contacts from me. She wasn't just a spy. She was a saboteur. She hadn't just wanted to keep tabs on me for Ben. She wanted me to fail. The ghosting, the emotional turmoil. It was all designed to derail me. My stress, my miscarriage, they weren't unfortunate side effects. They were collateral damage in her long, quiet war against me for getting something she thought she deserved. All that sympathy, all that support. It was a performance. I felt a strange calm settle over me. The kind of calm that comes after the storm has passed and you can finally see the devastation clearly. I thanked Isaac. He just nodded, his expression grim. He said he was sorry. He said he should have spoken up sooner. I told him he spoke up at exactly the right time. I went home and opened my journal. I added the screenshot, the final piece of the puzzle. Her motivation wasn't just loyalty to Ben. It was pure, venomous jealousy. Suddenly, that conversation from 3 years ago played back in my head, her telling me she studied how people lie. I'd thought she was talking about history. She was talking about herself. My dumb blonde act became my masterpiece. I cried to Vivian on the phone about a terrible date. I asked for her advice on my dissertation proposal, knowing she'd give me suggestions designed to send me down a rabbit hole. And I took them, pretending to be grateful, all while continuing my real work in secret. I was a ghostwriter for my own life, and she never suspected a thing. Facing it! The history department's annual symposium was the perfect stage. It was a big deal, a chance for PEEF.D candidates to present their preliminary findings to faculty and peers. Vivian was presenting right before me. Her topic, narrative weaponization, the use of private correspondence in 19th century diplomatic feuds. The irony was so thick I could taste it. She was brilliant, of course, confident, poised, charming. The faculty was eating it up. She finished to a loud round of applause. People were nodding, impressed. She shot me a smug little smile from the podium as the department head introduced me. I walked up to the front of the lecture hall. The room was packed. I could see Isaac in the third row, his arms crossed. Vivian was in the front, looking expectant, probably waiting for the train wreck she'd so carefully engineered. I took a deep breath and looked out at the audience. I put up my first slide. The title wasn't what anyone expected. It read, Primary Sources and Methodological Ethics, a Case Study. I started talking. I didn't talk about maritime trade. I talked about the sacred trust between academics. I talked about the importance of intellectual honesty. And then I started weaving in entries from my journal, anonymized, of course. I talked about a hypothetical researcher A and a researcher B. I laid out the timeline, the grant, the shared romantic partner, the confidential information being passed, the professional sabotage disguised as friendly advice. I never looked at Vivian. I didn't have to. I could feel the heat of her stare. The room, which had been buzzing with post-presentation chatter, grew silent. People started looking around, shifting in their seats. They were connecting the dots. The whispers started like a slow burn, a murmur in the back that spread through the rows. I could see my advisor, Dr. Alistair, leaning forward, his brow furrowed. I put up my final slide. It was the screenshot from the group chat. Ben and Vivian smiling. The caption, celebrating her win, was blown up, impossible to miss. I didn't add any commentary. I just let it sit there, hanging in the silence. Then I looked directly at Vivian. For the first time, the mask was gone. Her face was pale, her public smile frozen in a rictus of horror. The charm had evaporated, leaving behind something small and ugly. I ended my presentation. I didn't say her name. I didn't have to. I simply said that ethical violations and personal betrayals can poison a well of research, and that we have a duty to protect our work and ourselves from those who weaponize trust. I said it was a lesson I had learned firsthand. The crowd's reaction was a wave of hushed, shocked murmurs. It wasn't outrage. It was a collective dawning horror they all knew. There was no applause, just a thick, heavy silence. The department head cleared his throat and awkwardly called for a short break. Vivian didn't move. She just sat there, pinned to her chair by 100 pairs of eyes. Our eyes met one last time. There was no anger in hers, just the hollow look of someone whose lies had finally caught up to them. I didn't wait around. I packed my bag, gave a small nod to Isaac, and walked out of the lecture hall. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt empty. The rage that had fueled me for months was gone, and there was nothing left in its place. I had won. But I had lost my best friend, my partner, and a pregnancy. The cost of the truth was devastatingly high. Later that week, I saw a notice on the department bulletin board. Vivian had taken an indefinite leave of absence. Her office was cleared out by the next morning. It looked just like my apartment had after Ben left. An empty space where a life used to be. I still have the little black journal. Sometimes I take it out. I run my fingers over the pages, over the neat, angry script. It's a perfect record of a perfect revenge, a meticulous account of every lie. But it's also a record of everything I lost. The lies weren't just hers. I had to lie too. I had to become someone I wasn't to expose someone for who they were. Tonight, my apartment is quiet. The only sound is the rain against the window. The victory feels hollow. I am sitting with the full weight of what I did, what she did, what he did. There is no redemption. There is no neat ending. There's just the silence and the knowledge of the story I will never tell. My best friend became a spy for my ex.